Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to get started just to make sure that we are on time and respecting your schedules as well. I would like to welcome you all to the presentation today. I'm joined by my colleagues from the DC's Office of Environmental Justice to talk to you about our recent release of the Green Jobs for Youth Grant Program. My name is Alexis Jones. I'm the program manager for this opportunity, and we welcome you to reach out to us, to myself or to any of us at the office with any questions that you may have along the way in this journey. I would like to encourage you, if you have not yet done so, to open our OEJ grant webpage and have that available for your access. I will be referring to it throughout the presentation, and to have the RFA pulled up as well. If you need help accessing that, there's a QR code on the screen here, or you can go to dec.ny.gov and you can go to the Environmental Protection tab page, Environmental Justice, and Grants as well. And if you scroll down to our grant section as well, you'll be able to find our RFA. While we're doing that, I'll introduce our team, but I'll give you the opportunity to do the same in the chat. This is optional, but if you would like to, please feel free to include your name and pronouns, your organization name and location, and an email if you'd like to be kept in contact with. This will be helpful later, and it's good for you to know how to use the chat because that's where you can input your Q&A questions for later. If you're unfamiliar with WebEx, there should be a button with a speech bubble icon or the word chat where you can click and contribute to the chat or ask questions. Everyone, please make sure that you are muted throughout the presentation to help minimize disruptions, but we will have a time later on for you to unmute and ask questions. And we can also read out your questions that you submit in the chat during the Q&A section. So welcome all, and with that, we can move forward. So my name is Alexis Jones. I'm the grant program manager. As I stated, I've been with the agency now for about 8 months and have a background in environmental and social justice. I'm joined by my fellow grant colleagues, Dana McClure and Marilyn Moore, who will be helping monitor the chat and provide some additional information as we go. We're really grateful to have this opportunity to bring to you today, as it's been since 2017, since we were last able to do this. And I hope that this information session is very helpful for everyone. Thank you for those who have introduced themselves. A warm welcome to everyone, and please feel free to continue to do so as I move forward. We have a lot of information to cover today, so please put in the chat and write down your questions along the way so that they're not forgotten and we can address them later. We will work to post the recording of this webinar on our website later on. If you would like a PDF form of this presentation, please let me know via the chat, including your email, so that we can reach out to you. If you have any technical issues along the way, please feel free to let us know and we can do our best to address them as we move forward. Today, we will be covering brief introduction and important dates and key information for you today. We will be going over the details of the grant, and then we will also have our Q&A section at the end for everyone to contribute. I'd like to mention a few things before we get into the grant details. First, please note that what's stated here today is not an exhaustive list of requirements. It is strongly encouraged for you to review the RFA thoroughly to make sure that you are well aware of eligibility requirements and application requirements. Also, due to the competitive nature of the grant, we cannot discuss your specific project ideas with you. If you're wondering about a project's potential eligibility, I will be going over eligibility details a bit more later, but we cannot comment on whether your specific project will meet those requirements. And we cannot comment on whether your organization is eligible, as there are multiple eligibility requirements that must be met. Throughout the presentation, I will be referring to not-for-profits as NFPs in the slides, community-based organizations as CBOs, as these are the organizations that are eligible to apply in addition to tribal organizations. I would like to note that just because you fit this criteria may not necessarily mean that you are automatically eligible. So I'll take some time later to review some of those details, and then we'll have some time to discuss further if you have questions during the Q&A portion. I strongly encourage everyone to print out the RFA or have access to it, a saved version of it for you to use if you decide to apply, so you can highlight all the key application information that you'll need to successfully submit. If you've done this already, please feel free to follow along with it, whether it's printed out in front of you or online, as I will be referencing page numbers throughout the presentation. All right, and so some general information. The Office of Environmental Justice provides competitive grants to community-based organizations, which are organizations that serve the community and implement solutions that address environmental and health issues while informing and involving community members. So far, the office has awarded over 250 grants to New York State organizations since 2006, and we're always trying to find new ways to adapt our programs to best serve our grantees. I would love hearing from you all about this. Some important dates for you to be aware of. As you can see, we released the latest round of funding last week, and the question and answer period will be active until December 31st. The webinar is happening now, and a recording will be available later via our website. As far as the Q&A, I've gotten a lot of questions so far about where to find general information about the grant. I encourage everyone to go to our DEC OEJ page, which was on the beginning slide, where you can find information about our grants and also locate the Green Jobs RFA. Please note that you have until January 28th at 3 p.m. to submit your bid in SFS. It's important to note that you must get your submission in prior to this 3 p.m. deadline, so please try and submit way ahead of that deadline so you can address any potential issues with your bid, as the system may not flag that you have missed something. As always, we try to adhere to the announcement we're hoping to do by late June, but dependent on our support staff approving the funds to be released, that may flux. So all applicants either way will receive a hard copy letter by mail regarding our decision, so everyone will hear back regardless of whether they are accepted or not. Our funding for the Green Jobs for Youth grant this year will be $4 million coming from the state's Environmental Protection Fund. We will fund as many projects as we can until funding is exhausted. The minimum award amount is $100,000, but we encourage everyone to come in at the maximum award of $250,000. Please do not submit a bid for less than the minimum or above the maximum award, as this may make you ineligible. We are happy to note that we do fund salary positions under this grant, and we also have no match requirements. There are no match requirements for our program, so you don't have to show the backing of additional funding to apply, and we fund small community-based organizations across the state that are 501c3s or an eligible not-for-profit may partner with a 501c3 fiscal sponsor. Our contract terms are set for 3-year terms, but you're more than welcome to complete the project in less time. You are allowed to have multiple contracts open with our office at the same time and do not have to close one contract to apply for another. But please note that your organization must be in good standing and have all required submissions in place to be able to do so. If you're a current grantee and unsure of your standing, please contact us in advance so that we can make sure that you are in good standing and get you back in good standing if not. You are welcome to submit up to 3 applications with different project types for your bid, but note that only one may be selected for your funding per organization. Here are just listed the 4 past types of projects funded: green infrastructure, energy efficiency, solar installation, and urban agriculture. But we wanted to focus, which you can explore through open data. I've included instructions for that on the screen, which will allow you to see what organizations did in the past, as well as some descriptions. We wanted to expand this though this year because, as we know, green jobs includes a lot of different sectors. And so on this slide, you can see some ideas for how we're looking to expand this and for projects that we will accept. those being clean energy, green buildings, transportation, waste, consumer products, climate adaptation, policy and advocacy, finance and consulting, green infrastructure, green education and teaching, conservation and restoration, and technology. Included on this slide, as well as in the RFA and on our website, we have a green job program ideas, which you can use as inspiration. I'm going to share that with you now. So if you go to our website via environmental protection, environmental justice, and you go to our grants page, you can go down to our green jobs section. So here you will find all of the relevant information, and included here entitled Green Job Program Ideas. You can click on this and it will open up an Excel sheet that will bring you to an inspiration page. So these are where the project types that I just listed are presented here in the industry section, but then we also broke it out into sector and subsector so that you can see some different ideas. It's important to note that you're not limited to these. This is only a space for you to be able to start thinking and use as a springboard. So please do not feel that if your project that you want to do is not listed on here, that means you're automatically not able to do that project. All right, you will need to identify the type of project in your application through your project title. Instructions for this are found on page 18 of the RFA. I will also go over them here as well. All projects must be titled Green Jobs for Youth Skills Training in, and then you would insert your project type. So for example, if you're doing technology, Green Jobs for Youth Skills Training in Technology, this will be displayed in print and online if awarded. All project titles should follow these guidelines. In order for you to submit the application or bid, as it's referred to on the RFA, you must be registered and pre-qualified in SFS. You cannot submit the application any other way. For further clarification, all NFPs are to be registered and pre-qualified, but tribal organizations only need to register. As a heads up, you will need to submit a number of documents for pre-qualification. I'll read them to you here, but you can also find them as a list via our Environmental Justice Grants Program page under the For Applicants section. This link is also found on the RFA on page 9. Here are some of the pre-qualification documents needed. You will need a certification of incorporation or an equivalent document, a DBA certificate, an IRS 501c determination letter, an IRS 990, audit reviews and findings, Charities 500 or Charities 410, Board of Directors profile, senior leadership resumes, corporate bylaws, and an organizational chart. And then also on the slide, as you can see, I'm pointing out the key page numbers for you to look at regarding eligibility, ineligibility, and then the specific grant details as well as scoring. In regards to eligibility, we're going to talk a little bit about what makes an organization eligible. So there are a number of things to look at starting on page 5 of the RFA. Listed here first and foremost, being a 501c3 community-based organization, need to be registered, pre-qualified in SFS, or registered tribal organization. It's important that you serve an environmental justice community, which we will talk about a little bit later in more detail. That your annual revenue is no more than $5 million according to your IRS 990 form that you will need to submit. And you must serve the residents of at least one DAC and or PJA area. Please note that a fail to any of these criteria will disqualify the bid. This is not an exhaustive list, so please make sure to read the RFA in full to determine whether your organization is eligible. Our office cannot determine eligibility for an organization nor a proposed project. Eligibility is officially determined after the bids are submitted and the grant opportunity is closed. So it's important for you to look through the RFA and make sure you understand those things in detail before. So for ineligible organizations, if you are an individual, a university, municipality, government body, water district or similar entities, a large non-governmental organization, regional, state, or national environmental groups or organizations. If this is the case for you, something important to note is starting on page 6 of the RFA, there are details about fiscal sponsorship. A non-for-profit fiscal sponsor agreement could make you eligible to apply with a partnership. Non-for-profit fiscal sponsorship is responsible for submitting the EJ bid on behalf of the eligible community-based organization. The NFP sponsor must have their own SFS registration and document vault pre-qualification and must have uploaded a signed fiscal sponsor agreement with the eligible community-based organization. To note, we do not have a mechanism in place to match eligible bidders to fiscal sponsors, but please be aware that any entity that provides fiscal sponsorship must have a written agreement submitted in the bid, and this agreement shall not be altered without approval of the grant program manager and DEC. So talking about ineligible organizations as well, they can provide support or subcontract. NFPs can still be a fiscal sponsor for the community-based organizations, and an eligible not-for-profit could serve as a fiscal sponsor for more than one applicant. Throughout this, I've been referring to page numbers during this presentation. It's important to note that if you're intending to apply for the first time, or if you've received a grant from our office in the past, it's always best to become familiar with the RFA. So please make sure to refer to these page numbers and the RFA for clarification. Shifting gears a bit, the following slides are going to talk about who our office serves and how to find out if your community is located within one of the eligible geographies. Our grant programs often fund potential environmental justice areas and disadvantaged communities that can be comprised of minority and low-income populations who are more likely to have been historically and persistently exposed to environmental harms. These populations are often, but not always, minority populations and those experiencing difficult socioeconomic conditions, such as incomes that are below the poverty threshold. Using the DEC info locator, the potential environmental justice areas, or PJAs, are shown in the image I have on the slide. They appear as a transparent purple polygon superimposed on the map of New York State. If you zoom in on the PJA and click within its boundaries, it opens up as a pop-up window with information on the population. We use this map and the map I'll discuss in the next slide to help determine the eligibility of bids. It's not explicitly stated in the grant opportunities RFA, but many potential environmental justice areas overlap with the disadvantaged communities. We want to make the distinction that we may serve a disadvantaged community, granted that the organization serving the affected community experiencing the environmental harm in the bid meets all of the requirements of the RFA. Communities that bear burdens of negative public health effects, environmental pollution, impacts of climate change, and those possess certain socioeconomic criteria, or are comprised of high concentration of low and moderate income households are the communities that we are most likely to fund. Here's a screenshot of the DEC info locator that you can use to help find via our EJ Grants program website. You can use the search function, which is highlighted here at the top of the screen, to enter an address, such as your proposed project site, and determine whether you're in a PJA or a DAC. If you look below the first highlighted section, you can see the public involvement tab where you'll find the layers for the PJAs and the DACs. Make sure these are clicked on and you can toggle them on and off as you need. As you can see from the screenshot, we have those purple polygons representing the DACs and the striped polygons represent the PJAs. Note that in this example, there is some overlap in the areas that are designated for both DACs and PJAs. A little bit more about the DC Info Locator. I provided a few screenshots of ways to view previously funded projects on this map. Funded projects appear when you check the box next to the layer called OEJ grants. These show up as small, round, navy blue icon with the balance image in the center, and include an example image here that centers on Long Island to determine whether you might see if you're looking for these previously funded project locations and their information. Please be sure to zoom in on the map, as you may not be able to see this layer unless you zoom in further. When you click on the round balance icon, it will bring up information about the project or a census block. At the top of this pop-up information window, there are also arrows you can use to cycle through the information if multiple projects are located in that area. So this would be an alternative, or you can use in addition to open data. Now that we've covered the location eligibility, let's talk about eligible expenses. Starting off with expenses for your funded project specifically. It also includes paid staff expenses, if you are contracting services, equipment or supplies that you may need for your project, curriculum development, recruitment, education and training, wraparound support services, placement and retention services, outreach and publication, travel specific only to New York State, a graduation ceremony, participant stipends, uniform or other necessary gear, grant administration through a fiscal sponsor, and other expenses required for the project. These are also included in the RFA with more detail about what a better description. So please refer to that if you have a question further regarding that. Now moving on to our ineligible expenses, which would be costs that are paid by other funding sources, general operating costs, recurring costs such as rent, mortgage, and utilities, liability insurance, preparation of the grant application, costs endured before the start date or after the completion date of the grant contract, litigation expenses, or actions intended to influence legislation or actions of a government agency. Now to move into cost effectiveness. Cost effectiveness can contribute to a higher score during the review process, and you may do so by any of the methods on the left of this slide. Please note that there are no match requirements for this grant program. This means that you do not have to show that you'll be contributing additional money towards the project. Additionally, we can fund up to 30% of the total grant award to any one individual salary, including fringe, which is capped at 15% of the total salary paid with grant funds. If you're working with a grant administrator, either internally, contractually, or with a fiscal sponsor, they can receive up to 10% for their role. Please note that if you have multiple open contracts with our office, you must be sure to clearly delineate the funds allocated to staff working on multiple projects so as to not overlap. So here we have the budget information included. I would like to also make note that it is available via our website, which I can share with you how to locate that now. If you go back to our website and you are in, so before you were in the Green Jobs Grant section, if you go back up to the top in the For Applicants section, there is a section called Examples and Templates. You can go through and we have templates here for you to be able to see how to create the maps, a timeline, which you will need to do for your application, a budget, which has the delineated sections, which may be helpful for you to use as a reference, and also a work plan. So please refer back to our website and the RFA continually throughout this process. All right. Moving on to scoring. The total maximum score any bid may receive is 100 points. The DEC reserves the right to not award funding to bids that score less than the 75 points. The questions vary in terms of points. Some questions have a range while others have a set amount. To reiterate, we highly encourage you to provide answers for everything, including all of the optional questions. An example of an optional question is for letters of support. The RFA will tell you that letters of support are optional, but are highly recommended that you submit them. Please be aware that letters from project partners, the RADC question is also optional, but we highly encourage that as well. You should make the case that your project will implement a part of the region's RADC plan, as projects should demonstrate an alignment based on the nature of the projects funded. You can control F REDC in the RFA to be able to look at that, and control F anything else that you may need to look at a specific section. Some key application do's and don'ts. I first want to note that when you're building your pre-qualification documents, it's an essential part of your application process. The DEC quotes 5 business days to approve pre-qualification, but please keep in mind that your organization may need several weeks to pull together those documents to complete the pre-qualification. So please do not delay. So first, please carefully read and verify your eligibility before starting the application. As I have mentioned multiple times here, please refer to the RFA. Have a budget justification where possible. Provide a municipal endorsement, which is a requirement if you're operating on public property. Please do not wait to get registered and pre-qualified in SFS. Don't wait to start and submit a bid on the same week of the deadline. Generally, don't start the project work unless the contract is in place. Don't ask for over or under the award amount, or you may be denied funding. Common problems that we see with applications are that organizations are not pre-qualified in SFS prior to the application submission. They've not given themselves enough time to submit. Please pay attention to what a question is asking and answer them in full and with detail. Some organizations lack letters of support or did not upload the supporting PDFs. Ineligible application, organizational and location eligibility are important to pay attention to. Please make sure that your application is completed in full. That is a clear benefit to the community. Project explanation needs to be detailed and well planned, and make sure that you show clear benefits to and success of participants. Make sure that your budget is detailed and that you are not including any ineligible costs, only eligible that were referred to in this presentation and also can be found in the RFA. A funding request too large or small may affect your project eligibility and the award amount. Some general tips for success are that your project, to make it more competitive, should be community focused, well organized, and cost effective. Our grant programs are competitive in that we receive applications through SFS called bids, and we score and rank them based on the proposed project. A competitive grant proposal or proposal that stands out to us and receives a higher score is one that has a community focus, detailed and organized, and provides clear project expenses tailored to meet the needs of the community, and that the budget addresses the environmental or health harms and risks that your project seeks to address. We also encourage organizations interested to apply to start early, check the eligibility, tell a clear story throughout, and provide a strong budget in your bid. So looking at how to walk through this process, please make sure that your organization is eligible and the required documents are gathered. Please get registered and pre-qualified in SFS. Details on how to do this in SFS can be found on our website as well in the For Applicants section. Read the RFA in detail, has all the information that you will need for this grant. Identify a project for this and make sure to carry it out in detail in your application. All right, and with that, I will open up now for our Q&A section. If you would like to ask a question but do not want to speak aloud, please use the chat feature to put that in there. And with that, I will start the Q&A section. Do we have anything in the chat so far?
We do. We have, if your project draws participants from state designated EJ areas, can some of their field work training take place outside of those areas in, say, parks and watersheds that are close by and serve that an EJ community, but not exactly within the boundaries as shown on the EJ maps? And the answer to that, Rick, is the RFA states that projects must be located within or serve either a DEC or a potential environmental justice area. So as long as the project serves those areas, participant training can take place outside of those areas, but you must serve a DEC or PJA.
Thank you very much, Dana.
You're welcome. The next question up is, can youth job training take place in more than one EJ area in a county?
Yes, that is correct. As in the RFA, you must serve at least one PJA or DAC, and you are able to serve more than one region in New York State.
The next question up is from Dawn, and her question was, how large is a large NGO? So our suggestion to you would be to go back and read the eligibility criteria starting on page 4 of the RFA, Dawn. We again can't tell you if you're eligible or not, but you would need to look at all of those other eligibility requirements, and as long as you fell into that range, you would be all set. MJ said, can a not-for-profit that serves those with IDD through a farm program involved in rewilding, grow, and give initiatives apply? So is that intellectually and developmental disabilities? MJ, let me look.
I have a raised hand.
Give
us one moment.
We're gonna unmute you, MJ. Go ahead.
So much for letting me being able to answer that. Yes, that would be with IDD. I'm just very used to typing that acronym. It stands for people with intellectual developmental disabilities. And if I can just give some context, we are an organization within a family of organizations, and one of our entities does provide services for youth with IDD. And through one of the sister organizations, there is this farm program that's supposed to be this immersive community program for people of all abilities. It has farm animals and mindfulness activities, and it's growing. We're trying to get more funding into it so it can expand. But would a program like that, that's part of a sister agency to a youth not-for-profit for people with IDD, would that be applicable for this type of opportunity?
I think that it would depend on the project. And again, because of the competitive nature of the grant, we can't discuss too much. So what I would highly recommend to you, MJ, is again to print out the RFA and really go through all of the things. Some of the stuff that we didn't go through today was the exact questions that are going to be asked. Those can also be found in the RFA. That might give you a better sense of if the program fits those requirements.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. The next question up from Nathaniel. So can we include grant administration costs even if we're not working with a sponsor? It wasn't clear in the RFA. And so on page 31 of the RFA, grant administration is an eligible expense. And what it says on here is that it can either be considered a personal services, which would mean that the grant administrator would work for the applicant organization, Or you would categorize the grant administration under contractual if the person who is going to be administering the grant does not work for your organization. So yes is the answer to that. And more information can be found about that on page 31. Let's see, do we have any others? I think that's all I had. Marilyn, do you have any other ones that came up? See in the meantime in the chat from those
We
ones.
do.
Yep.
Did we answer whether our project could be identified with more than one category?
It should be your primary category because I believe the way that the question is built in the system, you can only pick one, right? So if it was a drop down, you would be able to pick one. So pick your main category. You can identify within your, project description that you're going to do more than that, but please pick your major project category. And then I see one from Lisa here. If we exceeded the total annual revenue $5 million, is it correct that we could apply via a fiscal sponsorship or a collaborative project? So Lisa, you could apply as a fiscal sponsor, but you would need to find a not-for-profit applicant group that would be willing to work with you. Or a group, yes, you could do a collaborative project. So you would find an applicant group that does fit all of our eligibility criteria. And then you could serve as a contractor under their contract in their project. Let's see, next one up, Tatiana. My organization is an NGO nested within SUNY Research Foundation. Would that disqualify us? I think it depends on if you are a stand-free and can actually meet all of these eligibility requirements without, SUNY, because SUNY would be too large. I think it's dependent upon how you are set up. You're still going to have to provide the other things in the RFA. So you can also look that over. And then if you have further questions, you can follow up with us once you look the RFA over.
Hand raised by Yusuf.
And also I have another one here. Alexis, would you be so kind as to put the map up again and walk us through how to access the DAC and PIJA layers?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
So going back to that slide. All right, so here, if you search DEC info locator and you go to this top highlighted section, I'm actually, you know what, let me just stop sharing here.
I will drop the link to the DEC info locator also in the chat for everybody.
Thank you. I'm gonna take you through it live. I think it's pretty easy, which is a nice feature as well, for you to be able to do this yourself. Can you see? No, I don't see that.
I'm saying no.
Perfect. All right, so we're going into the DC info locator. We're going to launch that resource. This video will be helpful as a guide for you to be able to find out some information about what the tool is and how to use it. You'll agree and continue. So in the presentation, these sections were highlighted, but you're going to go to the search area and you can type in your address. So for example, I'm going to use our central office here as an example. Type in that address and click on it, and then that's going to be zoomed in on the map. What's important for you to do is go over to the left-hand side to the DEC information layers section and then go to public involvement. Once you're here, you'll need to click the PEJA layers, potential environmental justice areas, and the disadvantaged communities DAC boxes. This will show you where your organization is in relevance to these important layers. So as you can see here, our office falls within both of these areas. So it is important for you to be able to locate that and see in relevance. You can do this for more than one location. If you have multiple projects, sites, or have different community centers, for example. So please feel free to play with this tool and let me know if you have any more questions about how to use this resource.
We have a hand raised from Yusuf. Yusuf, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead, Yusuf.
If you're talking, we're not able to hear you. We still can't hear you.
All right, I see that Yusuf, you muted yourself. I'm going to unmute you one more time and try it that way. Okay, you are unmuted. We are unable to hear you, Yusuf. We're going to go ahead and move to Nathaniel's hand, and then we'll come back to you if that's all right. All right, Nathaniel, you have your hand raised, and you are unmuted.
First, one question of mine that got missed in the chat is we are pre-qualified in SFS, but it was the Department of Ag and Markets that handled our pre-qualification. Do we need to pre-qualify with DEC, or are we set once any agency does that?
That's a great question. Yeah, so the pre-qualification status should be valid across all agencies that use the statewide financial system, but please be sure to verify your status with our office as far in advance of the bid deadline as you can to ensure you can submit successfully. But yes, the answer is you should be pre-qualified across all agencies using SFS.
Great, thanks. And then my actual question is, in reading the RFP, I see the emphasis on employer placement relationships and getting youth with like nationally recognized certifications. If those things don't exist yet in our area, are you accepting applications that are about building those relationships and building those certifications?
That is a great question.
I think that if you can provide any kind of certification that already, exists,
Okay.
I can say that I know one of the basics that almost everybody provided to the first round was an OSHA certification.
Okay.
That is great, but we, really are looking, we want the youth to be job ready.
Sure.
So, and I think too, is if there is something that doesn't yet exist, that you may benefit from explaining that within your application.
Sure. Okay. Great. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, Yusuf, we're gonna come back to you. I'll unmute you and let's just see, maybe you can try changing your audio settings. It might have to be, might have something to do with your microphone input, but I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you now. You are unmuted. Okay, we still cannot hear you, Yusuf. I apologize.
Please feel free to use the chat if able, or you can email or call me. I'll provide explanation, details on how to do that later on in the presentation.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and mute you, Yusuf. Are there any other questions that we missed in the chat or any others that are coming to mind?
All right, giving one last check for that. We don't have anything.
Just check for raised hands one last time.
All right, and with that, I'm going to close out the presentation today. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm so happy that we could have this discussion today. Of course, if you have any questions later on, please reach out to me via email, or you can contact us through phone. We will be also working to include Q&A on our website at a later date, as well as a recording of this webinar for you to refer back to. If you have not already done so and would like a copy of the presentation sent to you directly, please put your email and your name in the chat if you have not done so before you leave, so that that can make its way to you. Thank you all so much for joining. I hope you have a great rest of your day.